where riveting conversation covers anything from local issues to those affecting the nation. Call 272-9228. And now, back to the...
We're back. News Talk 107.9 FM, Viewpoint Show with Dan Morris on a Thursday, TGIF Eve. This hour brought to you by Southern Orthopedic Surgeons. Southern Orthopedic Surgeons. If you need an orthopedic surgeon, you can get in today by calling 613-9000.
Oh, okay.
Southern Orthopedic Surgeons, 3 locations, Baptist South, East, and Prattville. 140 years of combined orthopedic experience. My in-studio guest is Bradley Byrne. East, if you want to call back, I'll take your call first. 272-9228, 1-800-289-9228. If you have a question, comment, or viewpoint, kind of going through a litany of issues. I guess you were here a couple of months ago, and it's great to have you back in the studio. We did Supreme Court. We talked about some of the replacement. We both agree Lynn Stewart would be an excellent choice as a replacement.
No question.
And this is going to be interesting. Now, I've always said Governor Bentley's real power with the Republicans being in charge of the House and Senate will be in appointments and also in calling special elections. I think that will be his claim to fame that he will have. Let's we talked about the superintendent of education. Let me take that a little bit further. They're talking about a salary of $150,000 up to $250,000. That shocked a lot of people. Is that give us the mindset of the board of are you buying something good with that money, or has it become kind of a bar before you can even talk to a certain group of people that are out there? Why so much potential money, do you think?
Well, let's put it in the context of what they're in charge of. They're in charge of a 700+ thousand student state system of education that has an impact on everybody in the state of Alabama. It really does. And not to take away from any of these individuals, but the president of the University of Alabama, the president of Auburn University, both of whom have significant jobs and are paid much more than what you just said. Their responsibility doesn't touch nearly that many people. So this is a critical, I'm not saying it's the most critical position in the state, but it's right up there in the top 5, and we need to attract the best person we possibly can. People that have the attributes that we're looking for can command those kind of salaries around the country. If we want to be competitive for them, just like if we want to be competitive for top flight people at our universities, we've got to be willing to pay what's the going rate. And another example there is what we pay our football coaches.
Nick Saban for superintendent of education.
And I will tell you right now, I don't think either of our football coaches at Alabama or Auburn are overpaid. Look at what they're bringing to the universities. So let's put it into context of what this person is being expected to do and what we want out of them.
Well, but part of what happens though is we pay someone, we have an oversight board that sometimes will get a little too involved. Does the superintendent have enough latitude to do the things, and they're just scared? Or I mean, I think Joe Moore, I know Ed Richardson was very progressive in the way he was looking at things, and I mean progressive in a good term, not in a liberal term.
I was on the board, and I worked for the board for 2 years at a critical time, and we were doing a lot of controversy.
Now they gave you plenty, because they were kind of go, let's let Bradley make everybody mad. They'll throw rocks at Bradley.
No, they had plenty of opportunities where they could have tried to interfere, and they didn't.
And they left you alone because they had a real problem on their hands, and you became the fix-it guy.
And I think for the most part, when I was on the board, that's the way we treated Ed Richardson. I mean, there were a couple of instances where Ed got a little too far out there, too fast, too quick, and the board said, wait a minute, let's pull back from that for a second, take another look at it. But that was rare. Pretty much, we allowed Ed Richardson to do what Ed Richardson wanted or thought it was the best thing to do, and I don't regret any of those decisions at all. I thought Ed did a great job. So I don't think in Alabama our board is meddling in what happens in terms of the actual operation of the superintendent's office or his opportunity to lead the state in education.
Let me, I may be going a little too below the line here, but in the redistricting of the congressional districts in the school board, did you look at that, and what did you think of that?
Well, I hate to look at it from a very parochial point of view, but my old school board district had all of Mobile County, all of Auburn, all of Escambia. Now we've taken a district that starts in Montgomery and ends in only portions of the city of Mobile. That's a tremendous mistake, and that's not in any way a complaint about Ella Bell, who's the person that would be representing that area. I don't think anybody can adequately represent a district that is that big. It's too big.
Do you think that we need more school board members to try to get the school board where the actual, the person elected to that school board can understand it as more of a composite of itself, and it's a little more homogeneous? Because what goes on in Escambia County and what goes on in parts of Montgomery County are just two completely different
Completely different things. No, I don't think we need more school board members. I think they drew the districts wrong.
things.
They were trying to maintain, and this is a hard thing to do. I've been through this a couple of times now. They're trying to maintain two minority districts in the state of Alabama. There's some legal reasons to do that, and it's hard to do that when you have population shifts like we've had over the last 10 years in Alabama. I just think in that particular case, they should have left Mobile County in the same district as Baldwin County, and if they needed to give up something, then maybe you reconfigure Escambia County into another district or whatever. But having this snake that comes into the city of Mobile, and you've got an individual, whether it's Ella Bell or somebody else, that's got to represent the city of Mobile and the city of Montgomery, I mean, I just don't think...
That's a long drive down a long road.
She's not going to be able to do that.
Right.
I remember when I represented that district, the three counties on the northern tier of my district that were in her predecessor's district,
Washington,
Wilcox,
Wilcox.
Clark, and Monroe,
Mhm.
I would get calls from people in those counties to come up there and meet with them because Willie Paul, who preceded Ella Bell in that position, just couldn't get down there.
Mhm.
And I could. And I would call Mr. Paul and I would say, I'm not trying to poach into your district. These people want to come up there. I'm only going to do that if it's okay with you. He said, I appreciate you.
Yeah, really. I get lost driving over there.
So there were times when I went up there and tried to help those people, and I always kept him informed of what I was doing.
Do you see the fingerprints of AEA on the pen that created this?
Could be, although I doubt it. I think this is just one of those times where they were in a little bit of a hurry, trying to draw these districts inside a regular session, and they kind of left the school board off as an afterthought because they were focused on the congressional districts. And this is just one of those things, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I mean, they had a lot to do this session, and that was just a mistake that they made toward the end of the game.
I agree. And that Board of Education is so critical to the direction of Alabama because that board has so much power, and it's amazing that they didn't put more time and effort into it to try to make sure they had a representative board, and it wasn't strung out, and you had people to have a good plug-in to their board members. Are you ready for some telephone calls?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go to the phones, and let's go to Glenn. Glenn, welcome aboard the Viewpoint Show with Bradley Byrne.
Hey, Glenn.